good morning. I am reading Greene's The Comedians. This was published in 1966, plays largely on Haiti, but we are now at a point in the story where Mr. Brown, who writes this story, is no longer in Haiti. He is now in Santo Domingo. Mr. Smith, who was the other comedian, was a presidential candidate. He is meeting him, and Mr. Jones is the one who got into trouble. He called himself Major Jones, and Mr. Brown, the teller of the story, rescued him. We are here in chapter 4 of the third part, Romans 3. I had a jeep to withstand the road on this occasion, arranged for me again at a cut price by Mr. Fernandez. Nevertheless, I was not to reach Monte Cristi and the banana plantations, and I shall never know whether I would have proved acceptable as a canteen manager. I set off at 6 in the morning and reached San Juan by breakfast time. There was a good road as far as Elias Pinas, but then along the frontier, perhaps because there was no traffic except the daily bus and a few military canyons, the international road was more suitable for mules and cows. I had reached the military post of Pedro Santana when I was stopped. I didn't understand why. The lieutenant, whom I knew by sight because I had met him a month ago when I came over the frontier, was busy talking to a fat man in city clothes. He was being shown a lot of glittering junk jewellery, necklaces, bracelets, watches, rings. The frontier was a happy hunting ground for smugglers. Money changed hands, and the lieutenant came to my jeep. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Wrong? Nothing is wrong." He spoke French as well as I did. "Your men won't let me go on." "It's for your own safety. There's a lot of firing on the other side of the international road. Wild firing. I've seen you before, haven't I?" "I came across the road a month ago." "Yes, I remember now. I dare say we shall be seeing more people like you presently. Do you often get refugees here?" "We had about 20 guerrillas over just after you came. They are in a camp now in Santo Domingo. I thought there were none left." I must have meant the band which Philippot had wanted to contact. I remember Jones and Philippot talking in the night while the men listened of the great plans for an established strong point, for a provisional government, for visiting journalists. "I want to get up to Monte Cristi before dark." "You would do better to go back to Elias Pinas." "No, I'll wait around if you don't mind." "You are welcome." I had a bottle of whiskey in my car and made myself more welcome. The men selling jewellery tried to interest me in some earrings which he said were sapphire and diamonds. Presently he drove away in the direction of Elias Pinas. He had sold the lieutenant a watch and a sergeant 2 necklaces. "For the same woman?" I asked the sergeant. "For my wife," he said, and closed one eye. It was high noon. I sat on the steps of the guard-room in the shade and considered what I should do if the fruit company turned me down. There was always Mr. Fernandez's offer. I wondered whether I would have to wear a black suit. Perhaps there's an advantage in being born in a city like Monte Carlo, without roots, for one accepts more easily what comes. The rootless have experienced, like all the others, the temptation of sharing the security of a religious creed or a political faith. And for some reason we have turned the temptation down. We are the faithless. We admire the dedicated, the Dr. Maggiards and the Mr. Smiths for their courage, their integrity, for their fidelity to a cause. But through timidity or through lack of sufficient zest, we find ourselves the only ones truly committed. Committed to the whole world of evil and of good, to the wise and to the foolish, to the indifferent and to the mistaken. We have chosen nothing except to go on living, rolled around on Earth's diurnal course, with rocks and stones and trees. The argument interested me. I dare say it eased the never-quiet conscience, which had been injected into me without my consent when I was too young to know, by the fathers of the visitation. Then the sun came round onto the steps and drove me into the guardhouse, with its bunks like stretchers, its pin-ups and relics of many homes, its heavy, airless smell. There the lieutenant came to find me. He said, "You'll be able to go on soon now. They're coming in." Some Dominican soldiers were plodding up the road to the post, walking in single file so as to keep in the shade of the trees. They bore their rifles slung and carried in their hands the weapons of the men who had emerged from the Haitian hills and who walked a few paces behind them, limp with fatigue, wearing an abashed look on their faces like the expression of children who have broken something of value. I didn't recognize any of the Negroes, but nearly at the tail end of the little column I saw Philippot. He was naked to the waist, and he had used his shirt to tie his right arm to his side. When he saw me, he said defiantly, "We had no ammunition left." But I don't think he recognized me then. He saw only what he thought was an accusing white face. At the very end of the small column, 2 men carried a stretcher. On it lay Joseph. His eyes were open, but he couldn't see the foreign country into which they were carrying him. One of the men asked, "Do you know him?" "Yes," I said. "He used to make good rum punches." The 2 men looked at me with disapproval. I realized it was not the kind of speech one should make over the dead. Mr. Fernandez would have done better, and I followed after the stretcher in silence, like a mourner. Somebody had given Philippot a chair inside the guardhouse and a cigarette. The lieutenant was explaining to him that they had no transport until the next day, and that they had no doctor in the post. "It's only a broken arm," Philippot said. "I fell coming down the ravine. It's nothing at all. I can wait." The lieutenant said with kindness, "We have made a comfortable camp for your people near Santo Domingo, and an old lunatic asylum." Philippot began to laugh. "A lunatic asylum? You are right." And then, to cry, he put his hands over his eyes to hide them. I said, "I have a car here. If the lieutenant permits, you needn't wait. Emile is wounded in the foot. We can take him with us. I don't want to be separated from them now. Who are you? And, of course, I know you. My mind's confused. The 2 of you need a doctor. There's no point in waiting here till tomorrow. Are you expecting anyone else to come across?" I was thinking of Jones. "No, there is no one else." I tried to remember how many had come up the road. "All the rest are dead?" I asked. "All dead." I made the 2 men as comfortable as I could in the jeep, and the fugitives stood and watched with pieces of bread in their hands. There were 6 of them, and Joseph lying dead on a stretcher in the shade. They had the dazed look of men who have narrowly escaped from a forest fire. We drove away. 2 men waved, the others munched their bread. I said to Philippot, "And Jones, is he dead?" By this time, was he wounded? No, but his feet gave out. I had to drag the information out of him. I thought at first that he wanted to forget, but he was just preoccupied. I said, "Was he all that you hoped for?" He was a wonderful man. With him, we began to learn. But he didn't have enough time. The men loved him. He made them laugh. But he spoke no Creole. He did not need words. How many men are there in this lunatic asylum? About 20. All you were looking for. When we can get arms again, we will go back. I said to comfort him, of course. I would like to find his body. I would like him to have a proper grave. I'm going to put up a stone where we cross the frontier, and one day when Papa Doc is dead, we shall put a similar stone on the spot where he died. It will be a place of pilgrimage. I shall get the British ambassador, perhaps a member of the royal family. I hope Papa Doc doesn't outlive us all. We turned out of Elias Pinas on the road, on a good road for San Juan. I said, so after all he proved that he could do it. Do what? Lead a commando. He had proved that against the Japanese. Yes, I had forgotten. He was a cunning man. You know how he deceived Papa Doc? Yes. Do you know that he could smell water a long way off? He really could? Of course. But as it happened, water was not a thing we ever lacked. Was he a good shot? Our weapons were so old, so out of date. I had to teach him. He was not a good shot. He went through Burma with a walking stick, he told me, but he knew how to lead. On his flat feet, how did the end come? We came up to the border to find the others, and we were ambushed. It was not his fault. 2 men were killed. Joseph was badly hurt. There was nothing to do but escape. We could not go fast because of Joseph. He died coming down the last ravine. And Jones? He could hardly move because of his feet. He found what he called a good place. He said he'd keep the soldiers off till we had time to reach the road. Not one of them was anxious to risk himself very close. He said he would follow slowly, but I knew he would never come. Why? He told me once that there was no room for him outside of Haiti. I wonder what he meant. He meant his heart was there. I thought of the captain's cable from the office in Philadelphia and the message that the chargé had received. There was more in his past than a cocktail shaker stolen from Asprey's. That was certain. Philippot said, I had grown to love him. I would like to write about him to the Queen of England. So that is the end of Roman 3. And the Roman 4, I believe, is the last chapter of this book. Have a good Friday.